God, it's
What is fart
Fab?
buckle?
Why is Big Lion making a comeback in the year 2024?
Guys, we had to battle Big Lion with like our modern reference.
Epic rap battle. Baskin versus Big Lion begin.
I'm Big Lion. Hello, I'm Baskin. I don't know who you are, but you are lacking. Big Lion, who's asking?
Listen, I know we said all this like 7 months ago, but you know what? I got stuff to do, okay? And also, I only saw this video in March, but still, this idea really caught my mind. You know, I've been a big fan of Carson since late 2018-ish, and I love his content, mostly because of these stupid bits and little guys that he's made that really stick in my mind. So I guess you can consider this video a little bit of a celebration, I guess. This is the CallmeCarson character battle royale, bracket of some of my most favorite little guys over the years. I went back through and watched every single main channel video and some of the second channel for the best, the brightest, and the coolest little guys that I could think of. But before we begin, here are some rules. Number 1, to get in you must have a name and a design, and that's it. Number 2, all battles are taken in a featureless white void with complete fairness. Both characters want to battle with each other, but they don't become mindless and they don't know exactly what the other can do, you know? Number 3, most of these guys don't really have a defined set of skills or powers, so instead, you know, I took quite a bit of creative liberty with some of these battles, so if you don't like where some of them go, I actually included all of the sprites used in this video in the description, so if you want, you can use them for your own bracket in the future. Also, let's honor some of those which lost out in the competition. There's only a limited number of spots and interests that I have, so if your favorite little guy is on here, I'm sorry. Okay, let's begin.
Crazy Torch versus the Crane.
The Crazy Torch is the first little guy ever created on Carson's channel ever. It's a sentient piece of burning wood which likes to jump very high. You know, the Crane is the second, but you know, it's the first in this modern format. Maybe seems like a bit of a random matchup, but both are semi-sentient objects which are capable of doing stuff, right? But there's one difference between them. While the torch can stay alive after being splintered or burned in different forms, once the Crane runs out of fuel, it's over. While it may have the strength advantage, the torch has versatility and can hypothetically never be killed, at least by this Crane.
The Don Cheadles versus the Ubba Clan.
Probably the weakest and most normal of our matchups today. A collection of 8 Don Cheadles is exactly what you think. I mean, a mid-tier actor cloned 8 times that are able to do great things versus another ragtag group of people trying their best. And I mean, while there are less on the Ubba Clan, only being Jim, Jenny, Larry, a snake that can speak French, a cowboy that speaks cutely, and a pastor that speaks Braille. There are also sitcom characters, so they operate on kind of a different logic. Maybe they'd be a little bit weird. Also, you know, they have like this, they've gone on these weird journeys, so maybe they'd have a little bit more experience. Still though, with a random group of people that have seen the most, I'm guessing that the 8 Cheetos would win.
The official Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson YouTube channel versus AI Carson.
As 2 digital creations, this battle might seem a little difficult to visualize, but a YouTube channel and an edgy rogue AI actually battle against each other every single day in real life, so maybe not that big a deal. AI Carson's biggest weakness is how stupid he is, but it's actually also his greatest strength as well. Being an intense hacker and gamer, he can effectively get The Rock's entire channel taken off YouTube and thus killed by process of deplatforming.
Funny Cat Dough S versus Salad.png.
I mean, another hard to visualize battle, but for different reasons. 2 artificial creations with ties to the universe's wills. A cursed video of Garfield which will simultaneously bless every Monday you have in the future while making every other day a living hell. And a picture of a salad which is similar to a cognito hazard that will make anyone viewing go mad with obsession. The main decider here is where their powers actually hit a ceiling. You know, Funny Cat Dough S is capable of literally changing the will of the universe itself. Meanwhile, the salad can only entangle mind, something that Funny Cat Dough S does not even have, so.
Ubba versus Big Lion.
Clash of the Titans, truly, and honestly the main reason I wanted to make this video, because if you know anything about anything, you know that Big Lion is potentially the strongest character in this entire pantheon, a metatextual creature able to reach past fictional bounds into our real world and terrify its creators itself. You know, it uses these dark powers to summon demon hands and will surely be the supreme leader of all things at one point. If it wasn't for Ubba. Honestly, I think she could do it. You know, she has extensive knowledge in dark magic, she's capable of changing the wheels of fate again, and can also hop into different dimensions, possibly above even ours, and also, finally, really the main decider is that she operates on 90s sitcom rules, which is to say she can't die, I mean she can just return, come back anytime she wants. So probably the biggest upset in this video, but I'm giving this one to Ubba, genuinely.
Cereal when halves milk versus Green Skeleton.
Two body morphors capable of changing their form. Cereal is a lowly shambling skeleton that when powered by milk can transform into a legally distinct giant dragon creature for presumably a limited time. Meanwhile, the green skeleton is also a shambling skeleton that is instead able to manually generate flesh around its fragile frame, which is where, again, I think the truth is revealed. In the beginning of the fight, I mean, I think it'd be obvious to the green one that the other guy needs this specific drink to become the creature capable of defeating him. You know, I don't know, he'd generate like horse legs or something and run away until the milk ran off and then finish the job. Or that, or he could just fight against the giant lizard monster guy. Either way, his independence from any gimmicks for strength is what get him over the edge, I think.
Peter Kane, Master of Ravens, Slayer of Dogmen versus Marcelo.
Peter Kane, said to be the best trainer of Raven and Dog. He has a strong relationship with animals and, I don't know, can probably talk to them or something. He has a legion of crows and a loyal dog by his side to stop any attackers. Meanwhile, the great warrior Marcelo plays it a bit differently, instead relying entirely on his extreme superhuman strength to finish his battles. Well, this was maybe a bit of a toss-up. I think I found a solution. You know, all it would really take is for Marcelo to get his hand on Peter Kane and crush him to win. But, I mean, that would be a hard challenge because of just how much resistance he'd face. You know, while his rage might be able to get him through it, I think that, honestly, Peter could get out unscathed as long as he kept his distance and his minions take care of Marcelo.
The Crab Salesman versus Big Pingle.
The Cram Salesman has dedicated his entire life to the miracle substance of his equal license, using it as every day as well as being the primary source for the crime addictions common to the Southwest. Equally committed to his craft, the Big Pingle is the official mascot for a very famous chip company, able to control their solvency with water and grow in size. While they both have capabilities to be dangerous, only one would probably be carrying a weapon on his person. You know, the Cram Salesman is very keen on making these cram swords, roasting them in the sun for Fortnite, and would probably be able to get Big Pingle very easily. The only recourse he would have is by sharpshooting Pringles, but obviously those are nowhere near effective as a cram sword.
Wood versus Pizza.
Truly master and student. Clearly the natural elements of the world, wood and pizza, date back to an ancient hymn describing a monk capable of setting himself on fire while also being drenched in oil. A deadly glass cannon of sorts. Meanwhile, the pizza seems like a completely normal pizza slice. So, I mean, boom, put 1 and 2 together, wood torches the pizza, wood wins, the end.
Feb versus the Dodo Guy clan.
A nation or their country. Their deadly Aunt Feb is a curious case of a massive head the size of a few small US states. At this size, her skin is multiple feet thick, her glass is monumental, and her breath torrential. But versus the Dodo Guy clan, she might seem small. You know, a massive collection of random guys, large and small. They stand a pretty great chance, but I'm not entirely sure of their survival. I mean, yes, they would have a lot more support, but, you know, Feb is old, massive, and reaction would be slow. But at the same time, it would just take, like, a scream to deafen, a tear to drown, and a breath to engulf all of the Dono guys. Even if they have the rushing sword, I'm sure that Feb would come out on top at the end, honestly.
The Red Pope versus Gary.
A strange pairing of incomprehensible beings. The Pope is not the real deal, instead it's just like an indestructible cardboard cutout which is connected to some god somewhere. It rarely moves and expresses its thoughts through the lights that it flashes. Instead, it does psychological harm, capable of affecting anything's state of mind from its disorientating effects. And then there's Gary, a very similar creature. He's instead not even a real thing, he's an idea, which launches itself into someone's head as he pilots their every will and reality, slowly transforming into a figure similar to his. While the Pope presumably exhumes with gods even above them, Gary is reminiscent of that exact ideal. He is the gods that the Pope would be talking to. Not a physical force, but instead a being beyond form, and I think he could make very easy work of the Pope.
Cheese Joker versus the Elephant.
This time we're actually faced with two former friends going at each other. They have similar powers, being able to change forms and call upon other dimensions beings, but they are very, very different. The Joker is his true form, and he's a mischievous guy. He switches Zack and Cody at birth and does stuff like that. Meanwhile, the Elephant is silent and mysterious. Like, honestly, I don't even know what the Elephant's true form would be or where its powers even extend, but either way, I think its more serious attitude would spell the end of the fight.
Burger Ghoul versus Heinz.
Famous food lovers, the Burger Ghoul and Heinz, share similar interests but in different ways. Heinz is a very nice man with a family and a passing interest in ketchup, and the Burger Ghoul is incapable of not ingesting pounds of Burger King every single day, with much less to lose and much more protein in his system. His random wild style of fighting could probably take out the mild-mannered Heinz regardless of how many shivved ketchup chips he may have.
Target Ball versus Ghetto Agumba. Haha.
Being very rare guys, of course they'd have beef. The hype beast Ghetto Agumba used to be a legend on the streets, and then he had kids and now they've grown up using the power of nepotism to gain respect while only being a little wimp. Cold and desolate with a calming red, the Target Ball awaits through the days, thick and thin, as the earth crumbles into dust and all of its enemies slowly descend into the lower guts of the world. It laughs in cold comfort knowing it cannot be defeated. Yet.
Hey, Abadababida versus Lib Jubbly.
Abadabida is a simple man, and he gets excited easily and enjoys the weekends. Clib Jubbly is not a man who's weaker than anyone before him. I mean, again, he's just a legally distinct character which coincidentally shares similar feuds. You know, Clib mimics all the powers of E.T., being like he can heal and has weak telepathy, and he says his name a lot. You know, all it would take is Abadabida to just stomp this man into the ground a couple times, and fucking Clib Jubbly would just be little bits of jelly. Be Clib Jelly.
Baskin versus Robin.
One is a weak little guy concerned with soda, and the other one is insane. Neither are particularly strong, but instead it's themselves which is the most concerning. Being creatures made entirely out of wool, they have, again, like questionable kill conditions. Like, how do you kill wool? You know, I just went in assuming that there's organs under there, considering his guttural scream was wet when he took his skin off. Even with how much I like the character, though, like Baskin, I'm sorry, he's getting first rounded. He's definitely losing this one. Like, he literally talks in casual conversation about how scared he is of Robin. Like,
Orb versus Orb.
We've reached another battle which can really go both ways. The orbs seem to have similar strengths and powers, once again metatextual beings beyond comprehensible, which are able to control their creators and manipulate them, creating a fear-based show on the internet. Being both chaotic neutral, you could literally say that either one wins, you know, it kind of goes either way. They can manipulate the universe in planes even beyond their own, so I'm gonna go with you.
Part Guy versus the Darkness.
The penultimate fight of round 1, we have the third-party fighters of the group. You know, darkness is an unseen force, devoid of form, which quickly chips away at the hearts, souls, and minds of any that go near it. It usually just uses this power to reach into Minecraft and make that game's darkness also hurt you. And the Heart Guy, although he's devoid of a name, he is also insanely powerful once again. He terrorizes Gavin in real life for actually real this time in order to do his bidding, and it's rumored he was a cause of that entire Gavin situation. Either are capable of destroying the other, though only one has been seen actively jumping whole planes of ideals, and that's the Heart Guy. And I'm thinking he could wipe the floor with the darkness.
The All-Brain versus 15,000 Bees.
A massive hive mind with members reaching into the mid-hundreds versus a massive hive mind with 15,000 stingers aimed right towards them. The All-Brain seems to actually enhance the mental faculties of its members, while the bees have them beat in almost every single other way. I think this single collectivized entity of the All-Brain could form a force to fully collide against anything these bees could throw at them, while definitely facing heavy casualties. As we close off this round and enter to round 2, things are really heating up as the battle-tested contestants now go against the winning deciders of last round's wars. This has quite a lot of lopsided or more interesting battles with no in-between, so let's get into it.
Crazy Torch versus the Don Cheadles.
The Torch had a great matchup against the Mindless Crane, but with the Cheetos, great minds put together, they could easily solve the problem of the Torch's questionable death. They could brainstorm as the Torch slowly encompassed them, and through trial, they would eventually find someone to blow it out, probably, and then deal with the Slippery Woods reaction after. You know, maybe. Probably one of them, 2 of them would die. I don't know.
AI Carson versus Funny Cat Doe S.
Although they're both simple computer programs, Funny Cat's ability to ruin the lives of others is a complete counter to all of AI Carson's remarks. He couldn't disenfranchise this cat's ability to love Mondays and would instead just get himself taken off Kick, somehow destroying his edgy reputation and eventually his life that he could ever live.
Ubba versus Green Skeleton.
Maybe this fight isn't the most fair, but I'm sure Ubba would give the skeleton a little bit of a chance. Even if he didn't, his abilities could counter a lot of hers, but eventually the battle would go south and Ubba's great power could easily destroy everything the skeleton could throw at him.
Peter Kane, Master of Ravens, Slayer of Dogmen, versus the Crumb Salesman.
Getting back to an actually fair fight, being two regular humans using the tools they've got, the Cram Salesman could stand a chance, with his cram swords and shields blocking much of the Kane's ravens and dealing them heavy casualties, but I think the over-reliance on Cram could actually be his greatest downfall. However strong it is, he'll eventually run out long after Peter's crows are still going full hog into his defense.
Wood versus Feb.
Listen, I'm sorry. Feb would have very little recourse, and I'm sure the Wood's fire abilities could actually deal her quite a bit of damage. Her size and power to manipulate their atmosphere would almost always blow out all of the inferno that the Wood could ignite. He's gone. The Wood is gone. It's over.
Gary versus the Elephant.
As very strong shapeshifters with no definite form, this is another interesting fight because you have to question the elephant's mental fortitude to resist Gary's attacks, and his nature is really undefined, so this battle hinges on the way you think that would go. But me personally, I think no matter how strong the elephant could be, he's no match for Gary's influence, especially over a matter of years that their battle could go on for.
Burger Ghoul versus Target Ball.
Man incapable of being still, this would be a very riveting battle, but also an easily decided one because the Burger Ghoul has basically no recourse to damage the target ball at all. His blunt force and scratching is exactly what the concrete balls were designed to resist. All it would take was for him to ram to the Ghoul and send it flying and crush it to bits. The target ball wins.
Hey, Abadababida versus Robin.
Another really sad outcome, Abadabida stands out. Very, very little chance against the flailing Robin. His insane fighting could leave him on the ground in seconds and torn to shreds in no time. It's just an insane chance.
Orb versus Heart Guy.
But back to interesting fights, two creatures accountable to gods. The Orb and the Heart Guy have a very similar set skills once again. It recalls the question of how they could use them. My one deciding factor was age. Like, the Orb is magnitudes younger and probably doesn't even know how to use all of his powers fully. Meanwhile, the Heart Guy has had years versus Gavin, every activity, and knows exactly how to use his abilities. So, also because of the number of entrants, the Albert has no one to fight yet. So, he'll get the rest. Next round. Round 3. As we enter the second half, every one of these guys now know how to battle and win. This is the last round before the final deciding fight will decide their future lives. By this point, if you're here, you're among the best. Or you just got lucky with the bracket and you're about to be wiped out. But let's go!
The Don Cheetos versus Funny Cat Dough S.
These 8 Don Cheetos have just gotten lucky because this will be a blowout round. The amount of ways that Funny Cat Dough S could destroy them would honestly just be fun to watch, but no matter what they are, they're losers in this race. Like, no matter what.
Ubba versus Peter Kane, Master of Ravens, Slayer of Dogmen.
And again, we say goodbye to one of the real ones. Peter could have an infinite amount of blazing crows, but he could never defeat Ubba, even in their weakest state. Goodbye, Peter Kane, Slayer of Dogmen, Master of Crows.
Feb versus Gary.
Honestly, a great matchup of mind and matter. One is stronger, but the other is much more cunning. This, again, really depends on how smart Feb could be. I mean, if her brain is miles long, then she'd probably be among the smartest beings ever, and she could very possibly resist his attacks. But again, time is very, very valuable. They both seem to be immortal, but over time her head would still corrode, especially with Gary's true power, so I think that's how he'd once again advance into the final round.
Target Ball versus Robin.
Yet still, all contestants are challenged by each other. Robin is an amazing fighter and great at overwhelming his enemies, but the Target Ball is incredibly uncaring. I mean, they're polar opposites in a lot of ways. And once again, the Ball's great ability to remain calm would be the final thoughts that Robin could think.
Y'all Brain versus Heart Guy.
And returning to a previous contender, I'm so sorry, he missed out last round, but this time the upper is just gone. It's just over. Completely. That's the end. Like, Hard Guy wins, just instantly. It's done. Round 4 will be done a bit differently. There are 5 contestants entering and only 1 leaving. A free-for-all brawl between the Target Ball, Gary, Funny Cat Dough S, Ubba, and the Heart Guy. We will finally see who can take the crown of 5 intelligible little dimension hoppers against each one another in the ring for one final time.
Funny Cat S.
The Funny Cat would immediately disorientate all of its opponents with some odd flash of creation. Most would remain unbothered except the Target Ball and Gary. Their fight being within months' control, and I think they could easily disrupt with one another, except for, ironically, Funny Cat DOS, which I think Gary could infiltrate quite easily and get everyone else in that same state. So I think he would. Gary could take all of the cat's powers and absorb all of it for himself as he grows its face. Ubba could actually prevent this control with one of her spells, but she has also very little protection over these effects, so I think she'd be easy picking, but at the same time her mind would be completely empty and I think she'd get bored very easily, instead opt out to leaving the battlefield, content with staying with her pet Rocky for the rest of their lives. So that would just leave Gary and the Heart Guy to bout for a little bit, but I think it'd be clear to them that the Heart Guy is just too much going on, and to actually invade his mind would be sort of impossible. So Gary would instead turn his attention to the unknown factor of the group and try to invade the Target Ball, which would end terribly, even worse. Being a creature of immense calm and stoicism, the Ball's infinite mind would only serve to trap Gary inside somewhere that the Heart Guy could also invade. So I think he'd quickly realize the Ball's power and then get trapped inside, which I think could leave Gary to easily jump on him and make him into another pawn. With their equal power fighting against the Target Ball, I truly think they could find a way out and confront him in real life, but this underestimated beast would obviously be aware of all of this and stop him instantly, putting him down to the ground, which would spell their endless lives together. The Target Ball has an infinite weight and infinite density, which means that even with the Heart Guy and Funny Cat Does power, I think Gary would remain trapped for the rest of the time, which I think truly means that the Target Ball himself remains the lone victor out of this entire party of creations. And with that, we have our victor. Really, I think the strongest character in the entire CallmeCarson pantheon is the Target Ball, with a second place Gary and third place Heart Guy Tim. This final round is over, and I really like the distribution of opponents in this finale, but choosing the winner, it really only came down to a few factors. I mean, mental and physical fortitude, which is really the specialty of this concrete ball. Like in the first couple drafts, it came down to Gary and the Heart Guy using these other contestants for their ends, but these guys all have minds of their own, and whether Gary or Heart Guy could actually win is truly like a 50% toss up, because they have the exact same powers. Here I chose Gary because I think his impatientness would probably get him trapped in the Target Ball first, which then he could take advantage of the Heart Guy's similar strategy with him still being a little bit disorientated in his mind. But with the Target Ball, neither could truly do much damage, even with Funny Cat DOS's abilities, like I said. I also knew that Elba doesn't care much for fighting and is nearly invincible, so with an incredibly open mind and no real stake in the battle, I think she would just get incredibly bored and leave without much fuss, because she's like the only outlier out of all of these guys. She's the only one that would ever get bored. So, tell me what you thought. Do you think Feb could take out these millions of guys? Think that Ubba could defeat Big Lion? Why? Why not? You know, I really had a lot of fun making this video. I mean, sure, a lot of things got really frustrating, and my editor didn't really want to handle a lot of it. I underestimated the power of some of these guys, and I mean, at the same time, I created a lot of their power, pretty much like all of their power. I mean, my only regret was that, you know, Baskin, Babita, and Peter Kane couldn't be in more battles, because I really love those guys. But I think it ended at the exact right times, right? I mean, Baskin could never defeat Robin, you know, everything like that. But, I mean, if you didn't like any of the outcomes, well, use my sprites. Again, all of them will be in the description below, ready for you to create these Pokemon-like battle things for yourself. So, good luck. Thank you for making it this far. This has been the CallmeCarson Character Battle Royale.